why people think that music released during the 60s, 70s and 80s is better than the music released nowadays. Because it was. The first thing you might say. Perhaps, if you work for the music industry, you might agree with what I'm about to say. Great music is being released every day, but for reasons that I will expound shortly, we get the impression that the music released today is worse than the music released in previous decades. In order to justify my opinion, allow me to make a hypothetical time travel and go back into the past a few decades. Let's say we are in the 70s. You have an old piano at your home, but your father is keep telling you to come to your senses, to live in the real world, to forget about the utopia of becoming a rock star and find a real job. But let's also assume that you are a stubborn man and you can't stop composing your own melodies and writing your own lyrics. You also managed to make some friends with similar interests and they all play a different instrument and you all together formed a band called The Nowheres. Now that you have a few ready-made songs, it's time for you and your friends to make your dreams come true. Here comes a question. How hard was for someone to release a song back in the 70s compared to how hard it is today? How hard was for someone to enter a studio with his band and rehearse or record a song back in the 70s or in the 80s? Hard enough. You either needed to have a ton of money to spare, or your band needed to be extremely talented in order to be discovered by a record label and get a record deal that will allow you to have studio sessions. How rare was for a manager or a record label to take over your band? Very, very rare. The music that was coming out was much less in quantity than the music coming out nowadays. Not everyone could record an album. Not everyone could release his music. Not everyone could have a chance in the dream. Nowadays, everyone is free and capable of putting out his own music in front of the whole world with just a few clicks. But of course, since anyone can do it, the competition is larger and your music most probably won't cut through the noise. So the number one issue we think that music nowadays is not as good as it used to be is because nowadays the good music is being lost in an ocean of releases. While back then, only the best music were released. What was the effect of that situation? What was the impact of less music going out? The answer is pretty simple. Stronger bonds between the product and its consumers. The people were attached tighter to the music. They loved it much more than nowadays. And they did not get bored of it that easily. The tracks could be on the charts for weeks or even months. Those people are still here, alive. They are at their 40s, 50s or 60s and they still feel this way. The bonds they have with the music that they loved as teenagers are insurmountable. It's not that easy to fall in love with a song in your 50s as it was in your 20s. That pretty much means that the generation born in 2000, when the year 2050 comes, will claim that the music released in 2020, when they were 20 years old, was much better than the following decades. And they will have a point from their perspective. Till the early 90s, almost all songs were recorded in a studio using live instruments. In the early 90s, we started making music with our personal computers. And today, in more than, let's say, 90% of the cases, the music that goes out comes from a home studio without even being tested in a professional recording studio. In almost all cases, the instruments have been replaced by virtual instruments. So what I'm trying to say is this. The quality of the overall music being released today is worse than the quality of the overall music that was released in previous decades. Simply because everyone is using home computers instead of live instruments. You can't possibly imagine what huge quantity of trash is being released every day. A hypothesis that pleads in favor of the theory that music was indeed better in the past is the following. There are 12 musical notes in total, and at least for the organ, 132 basic chords. Now, the combination of those chords and notes might be a huge number, but it's still a round number, and each time a cool melody or a cool chord progression is invented, this number is being reduced. Each time a cool melody or a cool chord progression is discovered, the chances of discovering a new melody or chord progression is getting smaller and smaller. 1000 years later, it will be much more difficult to discover a new melody than what it is today. Let me summarize. Even though it is possible to achieve greater sound with a home computer than recorded instruments, in vast majority the songs produced with a home computer sound poorer than those recorded with live instruments. And that as a fact, along with the fast food culture of our times, lead to lower sound productions. Fast food culture, I mean that everything is accessible and thus has less value than before. Before 50 years, not everything was accessible. You couldn't have everything right on the plate. So everything had greater value. Do all this mean that the music released today has less value than the music released before a few decades? No, it means that the average music released today is worse than the average music released before a few decades. There is amazing music being put out every day. The inevitable problem and the difference is that today you have to look for it.